How's it going, wrestling fans? Thanks for tuning into this episode of the Wrestle Report live with Phil and Don. I am Phil.
And I'm Don.
Episode 48 coming at you now. Appreciate you guys checking it out, whether live or recorded later on. You know, Don, 2 or 3 days ago, I got the little Facebook memory thing. We've been doing this show for 2 years now.
Yeah, man. It's been
Crazy to
a while, bro.
Yeah, crazy to think of it that way. We're coming up on the 50th episode here, and we're 2 years in. So I think we've got a lot of the kinks figured out in that time frame. And wrestling is a very different place now than it was when we started. That's for sure. I mean, if you remember back when we started, we were in the peak pandemic era, and we didn't quite know where things were going to go with that. And we've come out better on the other side. And wrestling's as exciting now as it's ever been for both AEW, WWE, plenty of other places. There's a couple of things we could start with. I think we should start with the big one over the weekend. Let's start with the SummerSlam review. I don't think you got a chance to watch it live, but I'm sure you're caught up on everything by now. This was, WWE is known to sleepwalk through a lot of the other pay-per-views, but I think we can all agree the big four, the big five, they tend to come all out. And being a stadium show, I was a little surprised they did Nashville for this. It didn't seem like a big four pay-per-view type of city. Usually they do this on the West Coast, but with WrestleMania coming to the West Coast next year, it made sense to mix it up. And I got to say, Nashville definitely showed out, and they had a pretty fun show to enjoy while they were there.
Oh yeah, man. I enjoyed it. I watched it live, but I watched it like on my phone, like it was just playing in the background.
True.
But then I did turn back like the Sunday because it was on a Saturday. A+ right there.
I enjoyed that. Yep.
And it made it better for me to watch it as well.
Mm-hmm. So we might not break down everything in super detail. I will admit, I will start with what started the show. I think Bianca Belair and Becky Lynch was a great way to start that show. They got plenty of time, and that would have been worth talking about right there. But then the return of Bayley afterwards and some other people. The women's division really getting a shot in the arm, I think, coming out of this. Even with it appears Becky Lynch is injured, and that is a huge blow to the women's division because she arguably is still the biggest star in their division. But if Bayley's going to come back, that's like a quick switch. Like if there's ever a time for her to be injured, it'd be now.
Yeah. Yeah, man, that was definitely a big injection into the arm of WWE, which they needed it because the women's division was starting to stale out. I mean, like who's gonna challenge Bianca after Bayley? Asuka, yes, probably Alexa Bliss. But now you got more contenders for that title.
Yeah, you went from like, I don't even know who's left that hasn't already done it to now there's like 3 different ways they can go about this and make all these different, things for that. So that'll be interesting to see where that's going. This isn't confirmed yet, but it keeps coming up more and more that the Sasha and Naomi issues may have been due to Vince McMahon not being there anymore. And obviously they've always been Triple H disciples, that maybe things are going to smooth over with that. Some people are reporting it like it's fact. Some people are reporting that like none of this is even true. So naturally, it's going to fall somewhere in the middle. And if they do come back, I think the first step would be, of course, you just bring them back as tag team champions, because that would be the best way to go about that, I think. But that would be another shot in the arm to bring the, I do always think Sasha's on a little bit higher level than Naomi, but they're both very helpful to the division. So good things are on the rise for them, I think.
Yeah, I won't be surprised if they show up tomorrow on SmackDown, which would be awesome. And then they become tag team champions again, and they float from Raw to SmackDown, and you have Control, which is Bayley's new group's name, versus Bianca, Sasha, and Naomi. Even though they probably did set the seeds for Alexa, Asuka, and Bianca versus Control, which is not bad either. I'll take that too. But I think it will be just, I would say, a little bit more better if Sasha and Naomi was going against with with Bianca.
And it's probably important to remember also, like SummerSlam just happened. Survivor Series is around the corner, so some of these groupings of people we're probably going to get around that pay-per-view anyway.
Yeah.
So after that opener, which, again, the match was great, the surprise of everybody was great. They moved right into Logan Paul and The Miz, and lightning strikes twice because Logan Paul looked great out there. You can tell this actually mattered to him. He definitely didn't sleepwalk through this. He seems to be taking this seriously. When I heard he signed a full-time contract, I still think to him that's just going to be like all the big shows. I don't
Yeah,
expect to see him wrestle on Raw a whole bunch or anything like that. But this was great, and it helps when you're wrestling the Miz because people will always talk about how good the Miz is in the ring and the constant pro that he is. My question is, where do you think Logan would go from here? Because this was
um,
since he's been in here, it's been a Miz related thing.
yeah. I can see him continuing being on Raw, and I can see him trying to go for a title shot against whoever the U.S. champion is after this Monday coming up. So I could see that happening, especially if Ciampa wins on Monday. I could definitely see that happening.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely more to talk about with the U.S. title. We'll talk about here because people have said this is really Triple H's first thing with his fingerprints on it. I'm sure there was some of that in here, but I imagine this show was largely written already, whereas the
Yeah,
Raw after SummerSlam, which we'll touch on, that seemed more of obviously that was a night and day
yeah,
difference
yeah,
of Triple
yeah.
H, knowing what's going on. So this was kind of like the passing of the torch, I think.
Mhm.
So now that a lot of these are situations and storylines that are now wrapped up that you can then move on to the new thing. So
Oh yeah,
that's what makes me think that everything moving forward is actually what Triple H has. Bobby Lashley defeated Theory to retain the U.S. title. Theory's now 0-8 since winning Money in the Bank.
yep.
Just gonna let that sentence breathe for a minute. It really didn't make any sense for Theory to win the title right back, and everybody likes Bobby Lashley. And the U.S. title scene is actually heating up, as you alluded to already, based on what happened on Raw. So I'm interested to see what happens with him next. Theory did, we'll talk about the main event, but he did attempt to cash in, kind of not a failed cash in, but failed even attempt to cash in. So that was his big moment, I guess, for that. So that didn't go too great for him. The Mysterios defeated Judgment Day. It was kind of a shot-for-shot remake of what we saw at the house show, which I thought was pretty cool. And this is one of the few feuds that isn't done based on what we saw here because they did do some more stuff on Raw. I'm pretty sure Dominic almost got abducted at one moment or another.
Yeah.
They did all that. But so this might keep going for a little bit. But Edge is back, so that might be another thing. A Survivor Series type thing. Maybe they do an elimination thing. I think the Mysterios would need no, I guess that'd be even at that point. So maybe they do something like that. Who knows?
Yeah. I can see them doing because Rhea Ripley just been killing Dominic
Yeah.
recently. So I feel like they might just do the full Judgment Day versus the Mysterios and Edge.
Hmm.
And which I'm not opposed to it because I like Rhea
Yeah.
Ripley and I think she could beat up maybe 80% of the male roster anyways because
Yeah,
she's
that's
she's a
true.
badass.
And she's already, like you said, she beat up Dominic so much that they could just work her part of the match around being with Dominic. That
Yeah.
could work out just fine. If not for Logan Paul, because I do think he got the best non-wrestler of the award for this night, but the McAfee and Corbin was everything I wanted out of it. There was a little bit. McAfee actually talked about it on his show because he had
Yeah.
two kind of slip ups on the ropes, and he fully admitted I should have been practicing and rehearsing and doing these things in a ring outside because the extra sweat and the extra atmosphere just totally threw him off. That being said, I think he did great, and this match
Yeah.
went exactly the way it should have. And it's McAfee's true first win without Vince coming out and putting a football in his guts or whatever. So this was the fun part, and the best thing about it is this is two former Indianapolis Colts fighting in the Titan Stadium. So
Yeah.
these are two guys that the Tennessee faithful would have booed wholeheartedly about 10, 12 years ago, and now they're going crazy for one of them at least.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I enjoyed this match a lot, and I thought McAfee handled himself well. It shows you how much of an athlete he is. So all that stereotype that punters are athletes, McAfee right there shows you that he is. He was able to catch his balance twice. Like
Yeah,
I love the one when he basically walked the tightrope on
yeah,
the tightrope, and it was
mm-hmm.
like it was wobbling and stuff. I did like the Panama Sunrise that he did to end the match.
Yeah.
He flubbed up on that one too, but he still knocked it out the park though.
Right. No, I thought it was great. I think he smashed the punters aren't athletes stigma years ago at this point, for plenty of other things that he's been doing. But this was great. I think it'll be a while till McAfee's back in the ring just because the storyline needs to make sense. This one made perfect sense. I was calling for it from the moment he started wrestling, so I'm glad we got it at this big moment,
Hell, give me McAfee versus Corey Graves. Give me that.
He did give him the crotch chop, so maybe that's two Pittsburgh guys going at it. Yeah. So if they ever do like a Raw in Pittsburgh, like give him that match or something, that would be hilarious. There's been the rumors of Corey Graves coming back for a long time. So
yeah, I was gonna say I know like a couple years. Well, it's in Philly. The WrestleMania 40, I think it is gonna be in 40. Philly. Yep. So I don't know. It's down the line.
that is interesting, like. Because they've done it at MetLife, so it's a similar area. But like, you do run the snow risk, I would think, at that time of year or whatever.
Yeah, because April-ish.
Yeah, March, April. So who knows? Yeah. But I mean, I think it's cool. They've confirmed it's 2 nights also, so that's here to stay. While we're on the subject, so I don't love that. I think that would deter me. Like I've been to WrestleMania twice in Orlando. That would maybe deter me from going a third time because, like, maybe I only can't have the time and or money or some combination of both to go to one night, and then I'm got to worry about if the matches I want to see are on. That we do that now just to watch it, like to get everyone together. We're probably not going to meet up 2 nights in a row, so we tried to meet up. We met up on the night that Cody debuted and everything, so that worked out. But like, you almost got to base it off. All right, what night would I rather be watching with friends? Like, if it's that annoying to do that, I can only imagine it's just as bad to try and go to the show.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but WrestleMania is still a while away. We got plenty of time to complain about that more down the line. Usos and the Street Profits. Jeff Jarrett was kind of a non-factor in this. He was just kind of there, and this was a good match because they always have good matches against each other. It's like the Usos and the New Day. Like, we've seen it a million times, and it's always good. And, the Usos retain. Not much more to say about that, I think. I thought
it was a good match though. All in all,
yeah, definitely.
I like the tease of them, the Street Profits becoming heels. I really don't want them to split up. I want them to just basically do like what the New Day did with Kofi and then Big E, and Xavier Woods with the King of the Ring. So like I would rather them just become single stars together, but whenever they need to be with each other, they could be a tag team.
You might get your wish because I keep seeing these rumors that we're going to have a draft again here at the end of the month or early next month, which I think a lot of people were calling for the end of the brand split. So this seems to be the opposite of that. But if that happens, I could definitely see them doing that because both guys are super over. I think we know which one would have a better singles career, but I don't think the other one would just perish immediately or anything like that. This isn't like Otis and Tucker type situation. So, I mean, if that were to happen, which one would you keep where?
I would keep Montez on Raw and move Dawkins over into SmackDown.
Okay. Yeah, I think I agree with that. I mean, because Bianca's on Raw, right? So you might as well let him do that for sure. Next up was the match that had you could tell they were proud of themselves for coming up with the finish for this next match, but they didn't care about the rest of it. That's why the match is only 5 minutes. But Liv Morgan defeats Ronda Rousey, and again, I enjoyed the creative finish that it had with the roll up where she's technically tapping out before the 3 count. If you look at it, you go back and look at it, which makes it interesting enough. So that part was cool, but that you could tell they were just kind of wasting time before they could do their planned finish. So this wasn't very good, but it did end in a way that got the people up a little bit at least.
Yeah, see, I love the finish because I felt like give Liv the win, and you also don't want to tarnish Ronda Rousey as well, because I thought I just didn't like the fact that Liv took so much and Ronda didn't take much. Liv basically was getting her ass whooped the whole match.
But that's how you'd expect that to go, though.
That is true. But I would rather her get some offense in there, right. Let it be 70-30 I'm cool with that.
And what would you say it was like 90-10 probably?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So that brings us to the. I mean, I think we have the same opinion. Match wasn't great, but really creative, very cool finish.
Yeah.
I think we're both kind of on the same page with that. Then we get to the main event. We've seen this a million times. We complained about it last time. This is probably 8 or 9 for a main event of a pay-per-view. If I had to factor them all together. And you're wondering what can they do differently? And Brock Lesnar bought a tractor apparently. I mean, there's really not much. Paul Heyman took a bump. Excuse me, that was different, right? That happened. Theory came out and failed to interject into the match. But aside from those two factors, the match part of it was exactly the same. We got all the spear to the barricade and everything. And then we got the tractor lifting the ring up. What did you make of that? I thought it was creative. It makes this match memorable. You can at least say, oh, no, that was the one where they had the track. You know, like in years from now, if people, I don't know why you'd be talking about this feud, but it took 5 years, I guess. But it was memorable. So stick tap for that. But like, what did you think of the thought of actually doing it?
That was spectacular. I've never seen that ever a day in my life. I've seen Zamboni.
Zamboni.
Yeah, Zambonis. I've seen beer trucks. I've seen milk trucks. I've never seen that before. When I first saw him pull it out, I was like, okay, there's definitely something gonna happen with that. Because
I thought him just jumping off it in the beginning.
Yeah, that was cool right there. I thought that was awesome. And I don't know if he saw the catch that Roman made when he
I didn't see it at the time, but I saw it after the fact.
Yeah, same.
So yeah, I thought the jump was the whole thing, but then you see the cover, the dumper part is still hanging over the ring. So you're like, all right, there's a reason they left it there, I guess.
Yeah.
That was one part that annoyed me, was like they kind of had to keep going back and like messing with it. Like I felt like I was playing like when you play like the old SmackDown versus Raw kind of games where you got to like, oh, I got to move this to get my spot right or whatever.
Yeah.
So that was a little annoying to me. It's one of those like I enjoyed it if I don't think about it at the end of the day, because like, all right, the big bump was that, and then Roman rolled up, almost like rolling down a staircase, and like it didn't end the match. Roman still won. So it's almost like, what was the point, I guess? Not to be overly negative about it, but like I did say, I sat here last week and I'm like, what can they do to make this match different? They did something that made it different. So I can't complain about it too much. And it does make it memorable, but it's definitely a little silly, I think, when you think that. In the moment, you're like, so we were watching it, Jay came over and me and Jody are watching it. And like for a minute, Jody thought they were going to flip the whole ring over, which would have been crazy, but you obviously can't do that with the people there. If there was a way to pull that off, I might have a different because you could do that. It should have been Roman in it, and he could have flipped it all the way over onto Brock, and that's why Brock doesn't answer the 10 count. That might have worked out. But yeah, I think Roman took the bump as good as he can, but he kind of got up pretty quickly after, because like, what else are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also thought it was funny when Brock carefully basically dropped him out of the carrier.
Yeah, he's like 3 feet off the ground.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
I will say though, I like the fact that after all that, like Michael Cole, MVP of the whole night, bro.
That's what a lot of people were saying. It's funny. I remember after the truck thing, at first, I kind of thought it was silly, and Cole's like, I forget the name of the ref. That's another thing. They said referee names again. That was something that was lost on some people's ears. But again, I forget the ref's name. Let's just call him like Charlie, because he's like, damn it, Charlie, count faster. And I'm like, that's exactly like, come on, man, let's get this over with. This is dragging. That's not what he meant by that. But yeah, no, Michael Cole, I think when you don't have Vince McMahon yelling in his ear, I mean, him and McAfee, one, he's having fun, like we talked about. This is a lot closer to the Michael Cole that like had Taz with him back in the day, even though they had Vince in their ear back then. Michael Cole was great. You're starting to notice the little differences. Like we said, Michael Cole, this will take us into Raw now going into this. The referee names I mentioned, we come on to Raw, and like I said, this should be the first true Triple H booking era show 100%. And what do? They said, remember the United States title? Because, we have a world champion that's barely here. So we really got to do something about these other belts. So that really makes me hope that the IC title, they do a similar concept on SmackDown. I'm fingers crossed for that. They already have a good champ because the title holders right now aren't the problem. Lashley's good and Walter's good. Not calling them the other name. I don't care. both of these guys are good, but it's the title scene that needs help.
Yeah.
And they did that fantastically on Raw with the AJ Styles. I wore the AJ Styles shirt, by the way. It's the one I got at the show. I said I'd wear it. I'm wearing it now. That finish that everybody loved, because why wouldn't you, right? The with the Styles Clash coming out of the 450, and we got Ciampa, and I think so. It's Ciampa and Lashley, right? That's where we're at now. Lashley, normally I would say like it would suck if he lost the belt this quickly, but he's had it a time or two. I don't think it's really going to be a big deal, and he's still aligned with Miz. Like the Miz could like cheat and help him win for all I care, because I think Ciampa, and then maybe the Miz is like, oh, well, you could just give the belt to me now because I'm your buddy. And he says, not happening. And then that's a feud. Like, that would be – because he needs to get – not that I don't like the Miz, but him and Ciampa together never made any sense. So whatever we can do to split them up, maybe it's jealousy over winning the title or something, but I'm all for that.
Oh, yeah, for sure, man. I love this. I love that first triple threat match. I didn't get to see the second one live, but that first one, I was hoping Mustafa Ali would have won just because I love him, and I feel like him and Bobby Lashley would have had a banger of a match too. Yeah. But I mean, I'm cool with Ciampa as long as, like you said, as long as we get old Ciampa, no one will survive Ciampa. I'm cool with that.
Gets his first name back, that would be helpful.
Yeah, hell yeah, and give me the promos when he's sitting in front of the steel doors and he throws the chair back and stuff.
Didn't he get his old music back? Did I hear that right? Or there's just a rumor that he's going to or something?
There is a rumor saying that he's going to get
that's
his
what
old
it was.
music back.
Yeah. Because I didn't turn it on until the match had already started, so I didn't see the entrances there. So yeah, we're a 3-hour sample size of the full-on Triple H booking decisions, and I think we're all for it so far. So we'll see.
So far, yeah, man.
We'll see
what
I guess do.
They did a big they popped a big rating too, apparently.
Yeah, 2. I think it went over 2 for the first time in a long time. What was I gonna say? Oh, and I love they did. I had to go back and see it, but like they did a video package on the U.S. title itself, and they just showed like John Cena and Eddie Guerrero and like people like that. And I'm like, if you're gonna do that for the IC title, like that's gonna be perfect, because like. And they'll even, like, because Triple H isn't as petty, like, if they do the IC one, like, they'll show Edge, but then they could show Chris Jericho. Like, they will. Like, they mentioned the Hardys and the Dudleys on SummerSlam when they were talking about great tag teams or whatever. They mentioned Edge and Christian. They didn't mind doing that. So I think that'll be, another thing. A lot less pettiness, I think, with Triple H, because he knows all these guys. He worked the same era as a lot of these guys. It'll be much different. So definitely looking forward to the Helmsley regime moving forward. So I don't know how much of this you saw before we talk AEW. The Ric Flair's last match, the pay-per-view itself. I don't know if you just saw the match or the pay-per-view or any of it. How much of this did you see?
I saw snippets of like highlights of it. I saw like they had Undertaker, Bret Hart, Diamond Dallas Page was there. I did see Mick Foley. I did see Diamond Dallas Page, Diamond Cutter, Cardona. Yeah.
I did like that's good news to see that, because Cardona's clearly recovering from his injury. If he can go in there and take a Diamond Cutter, and him and Cody had a similar injury. Cody's was worse, obviously, but that's another. If Cardona with a lesser version of that is already getting in the ring, it might be a good timetable for Cody. So when they showed Taker and Foley for the first time, Foley sitting next to – let me get this right on the camera. Foley sitting next to Taker, and Taker pretends to, like, throw him, like, for the camera. I threw him off. Like, it was – I don't know why. That was, like, the highlight for me.
Oh, I forgot. Bret Hart was there, too. I forgot about Bret Hart.
You didn't see him till later, but, he was there. Those are just the guys in the front row. There was Rey Mysterio was there apparently, because he gave he took a picture with all the Lucha Libre guys afterwards and everything. So probably more.
Edge and them was there. I heard too.
Yep. Charlotte was there, but she was backstage. The rest of his family was, because she couldn't be shown because it's a pay-per-view or whatever. So I just want to say the show itself was fantastic. To see a ring with Jim Crockett Promotions on it in 2022, I couldn't wrap my head around it. And this was, I don't want to call it like an all-in level show, but it's like a mini all-in because you had Impact, MLW, AAA, NWA. They didn't really use that name, but they had like Davey Boy Smith, who's an NWA Tag Team Champion, on the show. They had at least 4 or 5 different companies that put the show together. They used Impact's production crew. I did some research to find that out because I was curious who they, any production stuff that Jim Crockett would still own wouldn't be usable in modern pay-per-view. So I'm curious whose production they used, and it turned out it was Impact's. The Impact title match with Josh Alexander and Jacob Fatu ended in a DQ when Cardona ran in. So maybe they'll run that back because that match was fantastic. They had a battle royal that the what's the Nick Gage GCW guy won, so they even gave that company a little rub. And now that guy is going to fight Moxley on Rampage for if he wins, he gets a title shot kind of thing. He's obviously not going to win, but like they're still showing him some love, so that was cool.
Yeah,
so many things, and they're like, there's probably 9,000-10,000 people, but however many amount of people that are there, like they were loving it, and it was packed. And then you get to the main event, and the main event was what it was. I didn't get like the fake heart attack for the eye gouge. I wasn't super comfortable with. Like you probably could have sold your leg or something, Flair. It really only got uncomfortable to me. There was a better way to do this. Like Flair could have played the hits, give a couple chops, maybe drop the knee. I don't know if that would have been a great idea. How he drops the knee over the head or whatever, and then put him in a figure four and tap out. Like once they brought the brass knuckles in and Flair couldn't even like grab him, that was when I felt uncomfortable. Like it was literally only the last like 2-3 minutes of the match. And when he did eventually hit Jarrett with the knucks, he should have just fell on him and pinned him because he did the figure four pin, which would have been fine, but Flair's shoulders weren't exactly up either. And you can actually see Andrade talking to him right after the match was over, and you can pretty clearly see him like mouth like, I think I passed out, which is the reason like he just kind of fell backwards instead of like tried to crank in the figure four or whatever. So
I saw that he bled a lot.
Bled a lot, which you kind of knew that was coming, I think. Andrade, you could tell that this really mattered to him. I think for most of us, we just thought like he kind of got sucked into this as like a Charlotte kind of saying, hey, like make sure my dad gets through this. But like he already went on Twitter. He's like, this was the biggest honor of my career or whatever. Jeff Jarrett is still prime. Like Cornette always talks about, we don't have any heels that like makes the fans want to jump over the rail. A fan was literally jumping over the rail when they were walking down the thing. Like Flair looked great in this. Lethal looked awesome in this, and they even mentioned it on Rampage or Dynamite last night that he was involved in this. The story build up to this was great too. So like they could have made, and again, it's Flair. He's like, no, if this is my last match, I'm gonna do everything. I'm not just gonna step in there for a minute or two and play the hits. But like if they'd have done it that way, the people would have been just as happy, and it would have, as far as I know, he's fine. He didn't get rushed to the hospital that night. He didn't have a heart attack later. He seems okay. So joke's on us, I guess, for any saying you shouldn't have done it this way. The show was fantastic. And if Jim Crockett wants to do one of these a year during StarCast and just put a show together, and, maybe you'll have to always make the main event somewhat of an old school thing. Like they had the Arn Anderson, like they had the Morton father and son against Arn Anderson's son, and like that kind of thing. Like give it an old school flavor at the end for the main event, but the rest of it just build all these other companies together. I think that's the way to do it. So I gotta give it like a 3.5 out of 5. Like it really, the show itself was fantastic. I would have given it a 4 if the Flair stuff didn't get as uncomfortable.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't get, like I said, I didn't get to check it out like all the way like how you did.
Sure, yeah.
Or watch it live. I just saw those little snippets of just the Flair match, and then I just happened to be on Instagram, and Cardona posted that video of him taking the down cutter.
Yeah, that was cool to see too, for sure.
Yeah, man, it's a good time to be a wrestling fan right now with all the stuff that's going on with everything.
Yeah, the fact that you could throw this together without one of the big boys, and the way all this worked. I was impressed with everything. Production wise, I mean, it's Impact and everything, and they've had their production snafus, but like it was as good as anything I've seen. Like AEW had a lot of early on like audio, this, that, and the other. From what I saw on Fight, like it was good. Like everything about it was good. So thumbs up to everyone involved in this. Yes, did the end get a little uncomfortable, but like you kind of had to know that going in, and I did.
Yeah.
And I was ready for it. If I wasn't ready for it, I probably would have got uncomfortable sooner. But overall, great show, and I'm glad I watched it. I did not end it going like maybe I could have just looked at the clips later. Like I would actually advise people to go back and watch all the other matches. And if you just want to see the highlights of the Flair thing, you'll get the gist of it. But all the other matches were really good. So before we get out of here, I do want to catch up on some AEW news, and it's starting with stuff from last week that kind of moved in this week. To me, the biggest news, we have the two big headlines here. I'm going to start with Hook becoming the new FTW champion, and that led to Team Taz being disbanded this week. We'll start with the first half of it. Ricky Starks and the match with Danhausen, and we were all in the chat like, I think weirdly Danhausen's going to win this, and that quickly was not the case. And then like everybody always knew that Hook needed to end up with this belt, but nobody thought it was happening like last week,
Yeah.
So when he came out, they had a quick little match, got the deal done or whatever. Ricky Starks afterwards cuts a babyface promo of his life. Hobb turns on him. Like this 7-minute skit was just like, what just happened? And it was awesome. The only thing I would like to like nitpick is like Taz should have been more involved. Like when Hook won the belt, he should have left commentary and went in the ring with him. And he could have been there when Starks was talking so that when Hobbs lays him out, Taz could be like, hey, what the hell?
Yeah.
And then they could have caught Taz afterwards and said, what's going on? He's like, I got to talk to everybody and I'll talk to you guys next week. Because he basically did say on commentary after discussion of everything, I've decided Team Taz is no more, whatever. So that's the only thing. Taz should still be, if not the most important part of Team Taz, should still be a important part of Team Taz.
Yes.
And we did get a moment. They did put a social media video out there about with Taz and Hook in the back and how he said he was proud of him and everything. Like, so I'm glad we got some version of that, but that should have happened in the ring. That's my only nitpick about this.
Yep, definitely. 100%.
But so with Team Taz no more, that definitely leads to Ricky Starks. I feel like he's going to get a push. I do think Hobbs is going to win their feud because he kind of needs to. Because like if you break up the team and then you lose, it kind of makes you look bad.
Yeah.
So I do think he wins that feud, and then Ricky Starks will go on to do other things from there. So the other big news, also title related, we've been clamoring for him for a while. We finally got to see him. Trios Tag Team Championships coming to AEW. The finals would be at All Out. I like the design of the belts. They're kind of WCW-esque from back in the day, the ones that like Scott Hall and Kevin Nash would have won for a long time and everything. And then we had the bit on Dynamite last night where Adam Cole turns on the Young Bucks to stick with the Undisputed Era, basically. And that Hangman Page comes out, saves the Bucks. I think they're going to tease them teaming together until it's just about to happen, and then Kenny Omega's going to return and just throw the whole thing off. It's like a bad soap opera where like the two people that shouldn't be in love finally admit they're in love, and then like the soldier husband from the war like just barges in the door like, honey, I'm back. Like I think it's going to be like that, and I'm looking forward to this. The trios titles just make so many possibilities for storylines, and I'm all for it. Is it too many belts? Probably, but this is a belt that AEW can use to its fullest. Is the difference?
Yeah. I will say this though. I feel like this should have been introduced a long time ago. This should have been introduced last month and started like a big ass tournament because you have a lot of tag teams that you could trio tag teams that you could put into there. So,
I still think it is going to be a big ass tournament, but yeah, they could have brought it. They could have started this 2 months ago and really dragged out the tournament if they wanted to.
Yeah. And so you can still have individual storylines with other people still within that tournament. And
yeah,
because you think about it, All Out's in 3 weeks.
which is crazy to think. I wonder. And we're getting the Jericho Moxley Quake at the Lake. Terrible name, by the way, Tony. Like, you should have workshopped that a little bit more. We're getting Jericho and Moxley at that. And I think a lot of people thought that that was going to be All Out, like the backup plan for All Out. And the fact that we're getting it now, maybe if we're lucky, fingers crossed, Moxley beats Jericho. He holds the belt up. Cult of Personality. Punk comes out with his belt. We got 3 weeks, like you said, to build to All Out. And I mean, that you can build that in 3 weeks because it writes itself. It's interim champ and injured champ, so you don't need a lot of time for that. So hopefully that's the case with CM Punk coming back. Because if not, like you said, 3 weeks. I don't know who else you're going to build up in 3 weeks to fight Moxley. So that would be an issue.
And this is like one of the biggest pay-per-views you have out there. So like you want to have that build, that a good ass build towards it. You have 3 episodes of Dynamite, 3 episodes of Rampage.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean you're not gonna put the champion on Dark, are you? Or Dark Elevation?
No, not really. No.
Well, I know they do. Don't they have Battle of the Belts coming up?
They have Battle of the Belts tomorrow, actually. It's Saturday. Saturday. That's yeah. I mean, something could happen there, but Quake at the Lake has to happen first to see where we're going from there. So who knows? No, Battle of the Belts is what? Wardlow, Jay Lethal, women's title match, and I think and Ring of Honor title match against Takeshita. So it's Claudio and Takeshita. So it's just 3 matches because the show's only an hour or whatever. So it'll be a nice, fun hour of wrestling. But that is one thing I'll admit. Like, this is a trial run of these Battle of the Belts things. They always come out of nowhere. They don't really do a whole lot. I have full confidence that by next year they'll place these more like strategically. But these Battle of the Belts, they've been like a C+ so far. Like, they've been like, there's some cool matches on it we're seeing. Like Wardlow Lethal, probably going to be pretty good. Claudio and Takeshita, probably going to be pretty good. But they come out of nowhere. So I definitely think they're going to work on those moving next year.
I would also give it a little bit more time too. You see, you could throw a couple promos in there as well.
If you can make it like a 90-minute special, so you can throw a promo or two or a quick match in there or two.
Yeah, because if you think about it, it's basically going to doom. Because there's only, you said 3 matches, right? Yeah,
you can maybe sneak a backstage promo, like one.
Yeah.
Like that's about all you can do. Yeah. That's Battle of the Belts is Saturday. Again, nothing super canon. Nothing really happens up until Quake at the Lake, and we'll go from there. But like you said, All Out, usually one of the bigger. I don't think they don't have like the big 4 where it's WrestleMania and 3 others. I always feel like Double or Nothing and All Out are the 2 really big ones, and then Full Gear Revolution are just the other 2. I feel like it's just a 2-level version of that. But they're always good. I mean, I've been to 2 of them, and we've seen them all, and they've always been great. So definitely plenty of things to talk about. You said it earlier, it's an exciting time to be a wrestling fan, and definitely plenty more to talk about. That's going to do it for us here, guys. I want to appreciate you checking this out live and or listening to it later on. But we will be back here next week after Quake at the Lake. So we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for stopping by.